Hello.
Hello. Ben's doing this thing where he's gonna act like he's not overly cheerful because he's just watched the Phantom Menace. But actually, right off the bat, Phantom Menace is a decent film. Okay? You can say what you want, you can think what you want, you can call me whatever you want. It's a decent film.
It's not. Gee, you know when we watch Doctor Who episodes, and every now and then there's one where it's just like we go through it and we can fix it.
Yeah?
I found myself pretty early on finding things I would change about it. I think my main issue with this film is that George Lucas shouldn't have written it and he shouldn't have directed it. I think the writing is bad, and I think the performances, for the most part, are stilted. I think there's too much going on. You can cut out a good few characters. I don't think it's very good. I don't
There
think it's
are
very good.
there are problems with the film, yes. I would accept.
I
It's
mean,
it's a decent film.
no, I disagree.
Well, you're entitled to disagree. You're wrong.
I, I'm not. Um, well, I guess let's begin with this was probably the most anticipated film ever released, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
I should think probably was. I mean, Star Wars was such a big cultural phenomenon, and there hadn't been really anything that came out, and then you got, oh, we're making the the first three films.
Well, I would argue that potentially the Titanic movie from '96 or whatever year it was might have been slightly more anticipated,
Yeah, I don't think
but
so.
we will.
I Do you want me to list off a few of my changes that I would make?
No, well, when we get to them,
Okay,
let's do what we do. Let's work through the film.
okay. Um, but well, firstly, title crawl.
Yeah,
I know people don't like the Phantom Menace as a title. I do. I think it fits in with the whole Buck Rogers thing. But one thing I don't like is the talk of trade and taxes and Senate talk. I appreciate what George Lucas is trying to do. He clearly got a bit into politics in the between time between the last film and this, but it doesn't fit, and it's not presented particularly well, and I don't think it should be there. I First change. It's got nothing to do with trade. It's just that Newt Gunray and his mate are aliens who want to take over Naboo because it's got resources or something. I don't know. You take all the trade shit out. That's what I do. First change.
okay. But you got to remember, tariffs are so this year.
Yes. It pisses me off where George Lucas is like, people don't like this film, but this film is made for kids. It's not aimed at them, and it's like, oh yeah, because kids go fucking nuts for fucking Senate regulation and
Yeah, I
committees.
mean, I don't think it's reasonable for anyone to use "they're made for children" as an excuse for any of the Star Wars films.
No,
I will die on that hill if I need to, but I shouldn't have to. If I did die on that hill, I would at least have the high ground.
and you'd
Um,
roll down it.
well, you know. Look, I get that trade regulations and senates and politics are a bit boring, right? But the thing is that the whole point of this film, in the grand scheme of things, is to show that that doesn't work, and so they need the gung ho people. It needs to exist for the sake of demonstrating that it doesn't work.
I disagree.
You can disagree a lot. That's fine. That's
You don't need to demonstrate it doesn't that doesn't need to be part of it. You can have the whole gung ho thing without it, being a counter to some other
well,
approach.
no, because if you have the gung ho without the failure of the diplomatic route, then all you have are terrorists,
Okay,
right?
because the Rebel
That's
Alliance tried the diplomatic approach with the Empire.
well, I mean, arguably the rebels are terrorists.
I,
You know,
I,
you might
I,
like it, but
I
think how
don't,
many people they killed.
I don't, I just don't think you don't need it. You don't need it. It's just, it's not fun to watch that stuff. If it's done well, like in Star Trek, it's great, and I can see what George Lucas was trying to do. I've sort of seen videos of people talking about what he was trying to do, but it just doesn't work. It should have just been a simple alien invasion type thing. And speaking of,
I I suspect that the part of the problem here is that I like the fact that it's a wider universe with more shit going on than just the shit we see, and you don't give two shits about the expansion.
I don't mind the expansion, but there's ways of doing it that are
No. Whenever you get so frustrated whenever anything extended from outside of the films comes up, you get
yeah.
so frustrated by it, and that's what I mean. Is you care so little for all that stuff.
That's
All this is just an example of shit that is going on in the wider universe that we just happen to have seen in a film for once.
my issue. Isn't that there's shit going on in the wider universe. It's that Star Wars is so oversaturated and there's expanded universe novels everywhere based on minor characters that I couldn't give two fucks about.
Oh, you mean
That's
like
that's
Junko Plute
that's not
and
that's not the issue I
I-
have with
and Ingmar Jacoma?
that's not the issue I have with the trade talk. I think I just don't. You don't need it. It's boring. It doesn't fit with the style of Star Wars. I think it should have just been an alien invasion thing. And speaking of your counter to the gung ho action, whatever. Well, I suppose
Mhm.
we'll get to Padme. We'll get to my issues with Padme.
Oh, just trust me. You will. If you think this is bad, just you wait.
I do think this is bad.
Just you fucking
Do you
wait.
know what else I think is bad?
Go on.
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh my god, really?
What is the fucking point of Qui-Gon Jinn? Second major change: get rid of Qui-Gon Jinn. Everything he does is Obi-Wan.
Oh Jesus. Oh,
What is Qui-Gon? Qui-Gon Jinn it's fucking boring. There's no point in
Qui
Qui-Gon
Qui
Jinn.
Gon Qui Gon Jinn is the example of the actual Jedi in this film. Everyone else that presents himself as a Jedi at this point, with the exception of Obi Wan, but Obi Wan is still learning. That's the whole point of Obi Wan. Everyone else is failing in the true nature of being a Jedi. Even Yoda, literally says a thing, and then later on in the film says another thing, and it's like, well, actually, Jedi, he's not actually that good a Jedi.
I think
you know?
get rid of Qui-Gon Jinn. You just have Obi-Wan as a Jedi.
No, because
Yeah.
you need the loss at the end of a
No, you
film.
don't.
You do.
No, you don't.
You do
You don't need. Why do you need a loss at the end of the film? You don't need a loss at the end of the film.
because it demonstrates just how powerful the bad guys actually are.
No, you have. Here's what you do. Obi-Wan is. You need right. First off, you don't have any protagonists, right? Secondly, nobody has a fucking arc in this film. You have Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is the Jedi Master who's sort of getting used to being a Jedi Master, and maybe you give him some flaws, and at the end of the film, Darth Maul doesn't get killed and escapes. That's the loss because of
Wait, he didn't get killed. Spoiler alert.
yeah. All right. I would make
He
him.
escaped.
I would make him the Sith apprentice villain for the entire trilogy, to be honest, because I think he looks cool and I like his double-ended lightsaber. I wouldn't. I would.
I don't think that's justification to do that.
Obi-Wan loses but doesn't get killed. Maybe he gets wounded and Darth Maul escapes, and he has
So what
learned.
you're saying is,
He has learned a lesson.
based on that, you would lose out on Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well,
Really?
maybe you have him.
Maybe
maybe
now you're flip flopping.
maybe you have him as like a cameo, but I don't think he's needed.
The whole
You could just have
the whole
Darth Maul.
point of the whole point of Qui Gon is that he's the linchpin.
Is he the
He's
fucking lynch? So
he's he's the linchpin because in terms of the overarching plot of the series,
Mm,
if Qui Gon hadn't died, Darth Vader would never have been.
what do you mean by that?
If Qui Gon had been the one to train Anakin
Okay.
to be mindful of the present and to be this calm but collected and wise figure that
Mm,
Qui Gon was, and therefore we have to assume he trained Obi-Wan to be,
okay.
then he wouldn't have succumbed to the dark side. There's whole fucking essays and videos and explanations, and they do far more justice on it than I ever will.
I think I just think Qui-Gon is sort of pointless, and one of the issues I have with this film is that there's too many characters.
Well, yeah, we don't need.
You narrow it down
sure.
to your main three. You've got Obi-Wan, you've got Anakin, and you've got Padme. That's your main three, and they've each got an arc. and that's it. You don't need Qui-Gon Jinn. You have Obi-Wan and yeah.
Well, I disagree.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, I want to query a line.
Go on.
I didn't get this verbatim, but it's something like, "They must be dead by now. Destroy what's left of them,"
Yeah, something like that.
or not. Maybe just leave the door closed. Do you need to like open it? It's only been like 2 seconds.
Well, I mean, there's so many different ways they could have killed the Jedi. I mean, if everything off the bridge is a droid,
Mm.
you just vent the air.
I did think about that
You
too.
just suck them into it. So it's flawed. It's
I don't like.
what you need to remember is droids are stupid,
Yeah,
right?
but the
The
droid.
Neimoidians are stupid.
Oh, that's what a great attribute to have in your main enemy, that they're stupid and make dumb
Well, no, but they're
decisions.
they're not the main enemy. They're clearly presented in throughout the course of this film as being the puppet
Mm.
for Palpatine, or sorry, whoever this Dark Sith Lord is.
I just think that's a. I see what you're saying, but
They are presented multiple times as being weak and
yeah,
easily manipulated.
I
So I don't think having stupid on that list is necessarily
um
an issue because we see them as being weak and ineffectual.
the action isn't particularly enjoyable for me in this film because it's too easy and it's all CG. It felt like, I mean, the original trilogy weren't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it felt like there were risks in those scenes with the stormtroopers.
Mm.
Who were running away, but these Jedi just cut through those droids really easily, and it doesn't feel like there's a great many stakes.
And again, the thing about the droids is that their victory comes from their danger comes from their being outnumbered, right?
Yeah, but if you're writing this, you can make them whatever you want. You don't have to.
Yes.
You could. I don't know. Make them a bit more serious, a bit more dangerous,
I mean, they
a
do
bit more
later.
threatening. You know.
It, they are later in the series. It
Yeah.
wasn't, but the idea is we know for a fact from what the whoever the mysterious Sith Lord is
Mm.
says that they've had to escalate their plan.
Mm.
Right? The intent wasn't to have a full scale war based on that line. Now, whether that's true or not, intent wasn't to have a full scale war. Wasn't to have a proper invasion. Right?
Yeah.
And so having these droids not necessarily being overly combat efficient can sort of be waved away.
But it's not very dramatic.
Well,
It's not.
is it?
You just
Is it
cut.
not?
You just cut through them all. It's like, yeah.
Oh, the Jedi cut through them all. Plenty of other people get killed. Plenty of Gungans and plenty of Naboo folk get killed.
Hmm. I just think it wasn't. Some of those action scenes weren't particularly engaging.
If it wasn't for Anakin in the M1 Starfighter, they'd probably still be in the hangar fighting now.
Mm.
It's they have forces. They have droids that are capable of being fucking dangerous.
Mm.
It's just it wasn't intended to be a proper war. They weren't expecting a proper conflict. They underestimated the Gungans because they thought they were some sort of primitive life force. It's just the Ewoks again, really.
Well, we'll get to that Gungan battle because I have notes on that too.
I think you're being too harsh on this film.
I'm not. I don't think it's.
I think you are being too harsh on this film.
I'm
You
re-
you you think you're not being too harsh.
I'm really not. I think this film has serious problems, and I
Just
think
you
as
wait.
as it is,
Just you wait.
as it is, it's a fucking mess in places. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people claim. I think a lot of people went into it with, Star Wars the original trilogy and a lot of nostalgia, and then came out and were really really disappointed. But I don't think we can argue that it's good.
Well, I think it's a well, I've said decent, and I stand by it.
Well, you grew up with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, surely you did as well.
No,
So you when was the first time you watched this film?
I honestly can't remember. I didn't see it around the time it came out. I got into Star Wars after all that.
Okay, I
Um,
watched this in the cinema.
right. Well, I I did not. I watched the other two in the cinema.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. Everybody's so bland in this film, and that's not the actor's fault. That's George Lucas's fault as a director. He's not a good director of people by all accounts.
Well, I mean, there's all the
Not,
people we see that are actual people. Yes, I will accept.
yeah. Um,
Because I quite like Boss Nass. I don't think he's overly bland. You
no,
just don't
no,
get an
no,
awful lot of
no.
him. But he's a CG character,
Yeah,
right? So
but Boss Nass isn't bland, and it's not like every single character is bland. But your main core characters are kind of fucking monotone, and there's not a lot to them. Which, yeah. Um, why do they split up and take different ships and say they're going to meet back on the planet? They have no idea where those ships are heading.
um, so that they're less likely to be spotted, I suppose.
Okay, but what if they're
I
on
mean, they
a?
meet up, don't they? Quite quickly, from what we see.
Well, yeah, but what if they're on other sides of the planet? They don't know that.
Well, no, but maybe the intent is to get out of whatever danger they're immediately in when they land,
Mm,
and then regroup in the capital,
yeah.
which is, if you're far from it, you're still gonna have to go to it, right?
Mm,
They need to go there. Maybe they regroup there. It's not well explained, but I don't think it needs to.
okay. Do you want to talk about Jar Jar Binks?
Look, Jar Jar Binks is intended as comic relief, and it wasn't necessary. I don't like it, but I'm over it.
He's so.
I'm over it.
Yeah, I don't like Jar Jar Binks. I,
Who the fuck does?
I get the intention, but it's just like fucking hell. You couldn't have split that. You could have like. It's like nobody has any. None of the main characters have much personality, so they put it all in Jar Jar Binks, and he's fucking insufferable. I found him so exhausting.
Well, I mean, you could always argue for the Darth Jar Jar theory in that he's meant to be unlikable and buffoonish so that no one suspects him.
Mm. Well,
If you want to subscribe to that.
I really don't like Jar Jar Binks. I think
No, no one seems to, but I think people need to get over it.
maybe they should have left him on the planet, and then when they got back to Naboo, he's like their contact for getting in touch with the other Gungans. Would you like to hear something I do like?
Oh, yeah, go on.
I
Is
don't
it
know.
John Williams?
Oh yeah, the music's fucking great. Music's fucking great. Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan is doing a good Alec Guinness. I just wish they gave him more to work with. I like the Gungan city and basically all the planets and settings in general. Really,
Yeah.
I do like the Gungan city.
I personally feel like visuals, a lot of the visuals in the movie, when you accept that they are from 1999,
Mm.
when it comes to the CG elements, I like this film visually. I like the look of
I
a bongo. I like the M1 Starfighter. I like the look of the droids. I like Darth Maul.
mm,
That sort of.
the
And some of that
designs.
is CG, some of that is not. I think a lot of work went into making the designs look believable enough, like
Mm.
in terms of how they actually look, whether they're CG or not. Whether the actual appearance of the things looks believable in context.
I heard a thing that George Lucas, because all the designs in the original trilogy were sort of like not grungy exactly, but sort of more industrial
Hmm.
sort of things. He wanted the designs for the stuff in the prequels to be more Art Nouveau, I guess, or Art Deco, like
Hmm.
1920s esque designs. I like that. I agree. I like the designs. I wish there was more practical stuff because I don't really like the overuse of CG. But I
No, but I mean it was 99, wasn't it? It was
well,
that time of movie making
well,
when it was really
George Lucas has always loved his tech.
yeah.
But one of the things throughout the prequels really is I like the designs of things.
Hmm.
Just wish there was more practical effect work. Um, can we talk about Padme now?
Yeah, if you want.
Well, okay. I don't like the decoy thing. I don't.
No, that's a bit
I
unnecessary.
don't think there's much of a point. I think you get rid of that. You make it clear that she's a new queen, and her arc is sort of her coming to terms with the responsibility of being a leader in a dark time. There's some of that, I guess, but it's the performance and some of the writing it just doesn't lend itself well to that as like an arc for her. If you know what I mean?
The issue here is that we've not seen the 6 hour cut that apparently makes it all fantastic.
I'm sure.
Um, apparently,
But yeah, that's what I would do with Padme. I know what you would do with
well, I
Padme.
no. What I would do with Padme is make it so that it's not obvious that her and Anakin are hitting it off
Mm.
because he's 9 and she's canonically like 14 or something.
I know. I look.
And there's like she says to him at one point, "You're a funny little boy." And
Yeah,
now, and then we know what's going to be going on in the next two films.
that's
You know,
another.
it's
Yeah,
not.
that's
There's a
another. Go on.
go on. No, no, you
No,
go.
you go on.
There's this bit where Qui-Gon says that taking Padme is a bad idea, and in many ways, it could be considered the downfall of the Republic.
Yes. I mentioned this ages ago. The George Lucas talk show did like a stage parody version of the every prequel film,
Mm.
and the way they played Padme is really great because in the first one she's just like annoyed and completely disinterested with this kid who's like obviously trying to flirt with her and like, do you want to see my cool pod racer? And in the second one, they're like horny teens,
Yeah,
and in the last one, they're like a married couple, and it's very good the way they changed that from film to film. But one of the other changes I'd make, you touched on it. Anakin is too young.
mm.
I would make him I would make him older, like 14, 15, 13, 14, 15, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I
I,
think
I'd
that's reasonable.
I'd sort of lean into sort of the Luke Skywalker type thing. Um,
At the very least, he should be on the verge of teenage.
yeah,
At the youngest he should be is 12
yeah,
because he's about to come into that angsty sort of phase where
yes,
he's, the anger
yeah,
that is sensed within him
mm,
is likely to start showing soon.
yeah. I would age him up so and make him and Padme sort of hit it off a bit more, as you said. Um, but it would solve one of the issues most people seem to have with this film. Do you want to talk about Jake Lloyd?
Yeah, I don't think Jake Lloyd gets enough credit
I think he
as
gets.
an actor.
Okay, go on.
Look, as a child actor,
Hmm.
there's only so much that anyone should really expect of you anyway, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't think he should necessarily be blamed for
No.
any of the issues that are presented in young Anakin.
Hmm.
Um, I have seen him in other films that I genuinely enjoy.
Mm. Uh,
It's fine. It's fine.
I think he gets way too much hate. I went into this and thought I'm probably gonna hate Jar Jar Binks and Jake Lloyd, and he can not maybe not equal measure, but I'm not gonna like Jake Lloyd. And I watched Jake Lloyd's performance and like, this is a perfectly reasonable performance from a child actor that is not
Yeah,
helped by bad dialogue and bad direction.
it's fine.
He's way too overhated. It's not his fault in the
And
slightest.
let's be fair, so is Ahmed Best
Oh God, yeah,
for the role of Jar Jar.
yeah,
People need to get a grip over the fact that it's not the actor's
yeah.
issue
Look,
in this. It's one of the it's the same issue as it is with Jodie Whittaker as Doctor Who. The issue isn't Jodie.
yeah,
It's the story, the script.
yeah,
It's and not too many people give her shit.
yeah. Look. I can't stand Jar Jar Binks. I think he's fucking insufferable. That is not the actor's fault. The
No.
actor is told what to do. He is given his lines. He is given his direction. That character creation that's on George's head.
Hmm.
Yeah, George had way too much to do with this project because everybody thought he's the Star Wars guy. He must know what he's doing, and he probably should have brought in some other people to assist really and just overseen the main story.
I've
Yeah.
I've got a few questions.
Go on.
I wonder what you take of them. So it's mostly to do with the that end of Act One sequence where the Trade Federation are actually attacking Naboo, like taking it over,
Yeah.
and then the escape from Naboo.
Mhm.
So first off, why the hell did the Trade Federation land so far away from the city?
I don't know.
No, I don't know either. Two, the Naboo ship, the Nubian, whatever it is,
Yeah.
doesn't have a fighter escort. It's just that ship leaving, right?
Yes, I
So why were there so many pilots, and where did they all go?
I completely agree. I had this exact same thought when they freed all those pilots. I was like, oh, okay. I guess some of them are going to pilot the ship, and you're going to have like a fighter escort thing,
Yeah,
and they just
that would
fucked
be the
off out the
sensible thing to
door.
do. They literally left the room. They didn't even, you know. Third point, sorry.
Yeah,
The shield generator's been hit.
yeah.
Why isn't the shield generator inside the shield?
I don't know.
That's
It's
the issue.
it's
That's the
like
issue with the droidicas, right? Is that you can't break the shield
yeah,
because it's inside the shield. So why the fuck? Why?
it's an Achilles heel thing.
It really is, isn't it?
I have a point actually. Now, come to think of it, you just remind me.
Mm.
Theed is certainly empty. Not a great deal of people knocking about Theed for the most part.
Um,
There's like a couple of groups of people getting escorted places, but you sort of expect it to be like you would I don't know if you should probably have like like cuts to people panicking in the streets and stuff. You know, it seems like the sort of thing you probably should have, but it
well,
just
I
seems
mean,
very lifeless.
this might not be the first time they've been invaded. They are, quote, a peaceful planet.
Mm.
And peaceful planets tend to be the victims of major acts of oppression, don't
You're saying
they?
Naboo is the gawky nerd of the galaxy, and everybody's giving it
Who
wedgies every now and then.
who's invading us this week? You know, hence why it's such a surprise that she decides to stand up and fight, right? I
Uh,
mean, you
mm,
know, I don't know. Maybe it's a possibility.
mm,
But I mean, in that circumstance, if you've got battle droids out in the street where you live,
yeah.
are you going outside panicking? Are you barricading the door?
No, but I just think in the sort of lead up, like oh god, the army's coming, everybody panic in the streets, that sort of thing. It just sort of seems like if I were making this movie, you it seems like that's the sort of scene you just sort of have, you know,
Oh, yeah,
just to
maybe,
show
yeah.
and just add a little life to your city. But yeah. Um, you mentioned the shield generator,
Mm,
fixed of course by our old friend R2D2.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Well, one of the other things I would change: no R2D2 and no C3PO, please.
Yes, there's too many origins in
Yes,
this movie.
I
We don't
think
need everything to be explained.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but we were like 5 minutes in, and I counted like Obi-Wan is obviously mentioned. I think
Yeah,
Yoda might be mentioned.
maybe.
I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
and there might have been
Yes,
another one too.
Yoda says I should be. Master Yoda
Yeah,
says I should be mindful of the future, not at the expense of the present.
yes, and we're dropping all these names, so it's like oh Star Wars reference, which is kind of understandable because it's been so long since anybody's had any Star Wars at this point, and just hearing somebody
See,
say Master
the
Yoda
Yoda,
again.
the Yoda thing feels like it makes sense in context.
Yeah,
So I can accept it. I think shoehorning in the R2D2 and C3PO,
yeah,
and having C3PO having been,
yeah.
not fixed up by Anakin, it's all completely unnecessary.
It
Having them start off in the series as droids from the Tantive Four,
yes,
that works. That's fine. There's no need for them to be in the
yes.
prequels at all. I get why they are, but there's no need for it.
It raises issues later on when you suddenly have to explain why nobody knows anybody else after they've spent
Yes.
3 films with one another. I can kind of justify Anakin building a protocol droid for his mum because I guess it's he's not really building it. It's just shit that like a half-built protocol
Well, he's
droid,
fixing it up, isn't he? That's
bits
the thing.
bits of a protocol droid that was in Watto's shop that Watto didn't think he could sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean that kind of makes sense to me, but I just it's and they don't do an awful well. R2 does, but C3PO doesn't do an awful lot. And I just think it's fan service is what it is, and it you get rid of those and focus on your main new characters. Um, yes. Can we talk about racism?
Oh, there's a bit of it.
I I just think the Neomoidians are like weirdly Asian coded,
Yep.
and Watto's like Egyptian or Israeli or something.
Yeah,
And
I was saying I put Jewish,
yeah,
um, because let's be honest, that's probably what he is.
and there's definitely I mean, people have drawn comparisons between old timey kind of racist cartoons and Jar Jar
Yeah.
Binks. So there's definitely stuff in there, and I don't think George is doing it on purpose, but I think he's drawing on shit from his childhood that was prevalent in culture without
Mm.
really fully being aware of what he's doing. That's how I see those characters, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah,
It's not good.
I don't think. Yeah, go on.
No, no, they're not
Yeah,
necessary. There's accenting.
yeah.
It's no, I don't like it.
I don't think George is being intentionally racist or trying to make a racist point. I just think he's inadvertently drawing on shit that's racist that he hasn't really given much thought to.
Hmm.
But it's definitely fucking there.
Oh yeah.
uh, um,
No, bear with me a sec.
no.
I need to quickly find something, but I can carry on. Okay, yeah, carry on. Cool.
um, right. I know. Okay, pod racing.
Okay, yeah.
I have a feeling you love this scene.
Well, you see, look, I do, but it happened. I was going to do a written review series of the franchise
Mm,
with my son, and the only one we ended up watching together was this one.
yeah,
Before, in the time between you saying that you were nearly ready and us starting,
yeah.
I had a little look at that, and I was quite critical of it in that write up from only like 2 years ago.
All
It's
right.
post the start of the Ukraine war,
Mm,
because I mention it in that write up. So
okay.
it's evidently at some point since then I have been quite critical of it. But
Yeah,
I think visually
yeah.
it's enjoyable. It's too long. There's too much detail in it. But I don't remember originally it being that long. So I feel like they've added a lot of stuff in.
Mm.
I don't remember there being these are all the people that are in
Yeah,
charge
I
thing.
think I suspect that was probably always there. I don't think he's. I don't know whether he has edited the prequel trilogy. It wouldn't surprise me. But that scene, I was like, oh for fuck's sake, are we going through all of them? Are we?
Yeah, it isn't necessary. I mean, there's a nice little bit of what do we call it in the back with
Jabba.
yeah, no, not Jabba. Rats Tyrell.
Uh,
You see, like the arc of his family being so happy for him, and then him dying, and then his family being really sad.
I
Um,
Warwick Davis popped up, which I thought that's a nice cameo.
he's in it twice.
Is he the little guy with the fucked up face and the big ears that's a Jedi as well?
No, he's the Rhodian that is mates with Anakin.
Oh right, is that canonically Greedo?
I think it was, but I don't think it is anymore.
Oh. Yeah, it was nice to see Warwick Davis, and I didn't even hate the Jabba stuff. On the whole, I mean, I sort of agree with basically everything what everybody else says. It's too long. You can cut a decent chunk out of that. Make it a bit more exciting, I guess. I don't know. I don't hate it as much as
Hmm.
other people seem to think. I think Star Wars prequel hate is overdone, but that shouldn't suggest that they're not seriously flawed or bad movies worthy of criticism. Um, but yeah, the pod racing scene goes on too long. They should cut it down a bit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Oh,
I do agree with you.
yeah. Um, Darth Maul's pretty fucking badass.
Yeah,
I hate to be one of the, I hate to mimic the voice of a thousand nerds all over the world, but yeah, Darth Maul's pretty fucking badass, and I wish he'd been in more films, as I've previously said. Um, I like his design.
you will see him again.
Joy.
Wait, it's only brief, but you will see him.
All right. Does he join the Cantina band briefly in Solo?
Yeah, he Jesus everywhere.
Oh god.
He is in Solo. Oh, that is the one that you see him in.
Yeah, fucking a. Right.
Um,
Yeah. Go on.
there's an issue here
Yeah.
in that Tusken Raiders are shown to be quite good shots here,
Yeah.
but apparently only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise. Um, it's an example of something that's just not necessary. It's something that contradicts what we have been led to believe from other films. I don't like it, but I'm fine with it. But it's just.
I basically think it's fine. I have no. I mean, I wouldn't miss it if it wasn't there, but I think it's a nice. It's one of those callbacks that is kind of. I kind of don't mind that sort of cameo from. Oh look, there's Tusken Raiders. We haven't seen Tusken Raiders in ages. I bet fans shit themselves when they saw that and the little minor Jawa cameo.
Wookiee.
We got a Watini. That was nice.
Look, all I'm saying is, if have them there, fine, but don't have them actually kill someone.
Eh,
That's it.
I see your point, but eh.
It seemed like some of Shmi's dialogue was dubbed in places. I thought
Possibly, yeah,
it
possibly.
looked, it looked, it just didn't look like she was actually saying it at the time, which is it's hard to explain
What, like
when
the
it's not really obvious.
Neomoidians? When there were scenes where the Neomoidians, where their mouths didn't, the puppet mouths didn't even move.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I get that. I do like the. I genuinely felt the emotion in the goodbye scene with her and
Hmm.
little Annie.
Yeah,
That
which
was
is something
good.
you wouldn't be able to do. You wouldn't be able to get if Jake Lloyd wasn't but in his way.
Yeah, there's some. He's Jake Lloyd is way too overhated. Like, way too overhated. He's not the main issue with that performance. He's
Hmm.
not. Um, you know,
Wait, whilst there was a point, I need to find the point. Okay. Watto and his bet, his two bets.
yeah,
Yeah, he he got quite lucky there, didn't he? Really, in the first one,
yeah,
being offered a no lose bet.
yeah. What was it that if we win, you give us
If we win, you give us a part. You keep the money
the win, the pot?
from the win, but we get the parts for it
Yeah,
that we need.
yeah,
If we lose, you get the ship.
yeah, yeah.
And like that's it. He doesn't lose there at
Mm,
all in any way, shape, or form. The only reason he lost is because he was greedy after the fact.
yeah. Um,
You know,
so who is worth more as a slave, Annie or Shmi? Do you think?
I would probably say Anakin, seeing as he's the one that we see working.
Yeah, he's building and stuff, and he's still young, so he's gonna grow up and be a strong young man, which is sort of like your ideal slave, I guess.
Yeah.
Shmi sort of, yeah,
Also, he's got smaller hands, hasn't he? So
yeah, he can reach into all those crevices,
don't say it like that.
hard to reach places for
Oh,
Watto.
it wasn't the word. It was the tone. Jesus.
Sorry, have I sullied Star Wars for you?
No, no, no. I mean, all the Rule 34 stuff I've seen has sullied Star Wars for me. Um, so the point I wanted to go back to. You know how they don't know where the Queen's hanging out.
Yeah,
They're trying to find her, but the bad guys don't know where she is. Darth Maul works it out because Darth Maul works it out
yeah,
somehow.
Force,
But well, yeah, that's what I can accept that.
yeah,
The fact that they can't work out where they are, I can accept that as one thing. But in the next film, we get Obi-Wan sends a message to Anakin and knows he's on Tatooine because he's sending him a message.
mm.
They receive a message in this film from that governor bloke who's like, "You must contact me." So how do they not know where they are?
I sort of assumed they would sending it. It's like ringing. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can't trace the ship, and you just send the message directly to the ship.
Maybe, but I
That
just
makes
think
sense. That makes sense to me.
it makes sense in the context of this film, yes. But when we see what happens in the next one, it's probably the same fucking ship.
Yeah, it is. Obi-Wan sends the message to the ship.
Yeah, but he knows that they're there. He makes a point of saying that Anakin's on Tatooine. What's he doing there?
All right. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, so I know we'll get to it in the next one, but like it's just a silly thing to me.
Yeah. Fair dues. Fair
Yeah.
dues. I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe they had a tracking thing. They they shut off
Maybe no read
location.
receipt or something. I don't
Yes.
know, but
They used a NordVPN or something. I don't know.
we get there's a bit like of there's a bit of stuff going on with the no, hang on, life
Okay.
debt. I want to talk about life debts quickly.
Okay. Then I want to talk about something. Go on.
Jar Jar has a life debt with Qui Gon
Yeah.
because he has supposedly saved him.
Yeah.
from the thing twice. You know,
Yeah.
Anakin saved Jar Jar from Sebulba. So does that mean he's got a life debt with Anakin? And how does that play off with Qui-Gon's life debt?
I don't know. I don't know. It's I
I don't
mean,
know either.
it's purely a device to keep Jar Jar in the film. I mean, in a proper film, what would have happened is Jar Jar owes Qui-Gon a life debt, and then Jar Jar saves Qui-Gon and earns the respect of his people as a result of it, and the life debt is paid.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
what happens.
yeah.
You've just reminded me that never comes up again. After that, it's just an excuse to have Jar Jar
Well,
about.
Qui-Gon dies, doesn't he? So that's
Yeah,
probably for
yeah,
my house.
yeah, yeah. The debt is no longer
He failed.
in
He
place.
failed in his
Yeah.
paying his debt.
Yes, yes. They sent him to the Senate as a punishment. To the
Cruel
Senate.
punishment.
Um, this treaty,
Which one?
the treaty that the Queen needs to sign to give consent to be
Oh yeah.
invaded. Um, I mean, it's not even something I'm like that's stupid. Although it is a bit
Okay.
stupid. I mean, I just change it.
Well, no, because all she's actually doing is accepting defeat. Like that's all that
Yeah,
is. It's not that bad an idea
yeah.
conceptually. It's like, hey, we've beaten you, sign this, and
That's fair.
you're done.
It's just the way they present it as like a treaty to make it legal. Whereas really, I suppose, from what you're saying and what it should have really been is
A surrender notice or
yes, a
something.
surrender notice and you know to stop the people from rebelling. We get her to go on television or whatever and say, stop this. Well, I have officially surrendered. This planet
Yeah,
is now the property of the Trade Federation. That's why we need her to do that, because at the minute we're dealing with like insurrections all over the fucking place. Yeah, makes sense.
yeah, that's all that is to
They
me.
just needed to
Um,
they just needed to tweak it and get away from
it's
the
just the
sort of
wording. The
the
wording.
wording is the issue. It's too political and it makes it seem
Oh,
like you
hang
can
on a
just
minute. Has George Lucas made a mistake with the words?
what do you mean?
Well, because it's his thing, isn't it? He's not very good with the words
Yeah.
sometimes. You
Yeah.
know.
He's not. He's not very good at directing actors either. Like I said, he shouldn't have directed and he shouldn't have written. He should have been the main overseer, executive producer type guy.
Yeah,
But yes. So we get old Palpatine, don't we?
we do.
Yeah,
Well, young Palpatine, really.
yeah, yeah. He's still good. Ian McDermott's still great.
Yeah, I actually made a point of saying Ian's back on my
Yay!
in capitals. In capitals, Ian's back. About 5 minutes into watching this, so
Yes, I guess people must have known that he was the Emperor, right? If you're a Star Wars fan, you know, right? Is he
yeah.
called
I mean,
Palpatine in the?
we call him Palpatine. Yeah, Senator Palpatine,
Yeah, but is he called Palpatine in the original trilogy?
Emperor Palpatine. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, they know, right? Um,
if he's not him, he's connected to him, right?
incidentally, you know the chap who plays Chancellor Valorum?
Yeah, I
I
can't remember his
I
name.
don't know
But
his
yeah,
name. Do you know why he's in this movie, or why he agreed to be in this movie?
not a clue.
Because he had a
I feel like
crush.
it's come up. Actually.
Because he had a crush on Natalie Portman.
Jesus Christ.
He saw her in Leon,
Jesus Christ.
and he there was like an interview. He was like, "Oh yeah, I had such a crush on her," and it was like, "Yeah, I can work with Natalie Portman. That'll be nice."
Wasn't she like 10?
She yes, she was like, I want to say she was like 14.
I feel like she was a lot younger than that.
She probably
I'm gonna
yeah.
Google that because that is. How old was Natalie Portman in Leon? Let's see if I can spell it. She was 12 years old.
Yeah, he
She
saw
played
it
the
and
role
was
of
like,
Leon in '94.
yeah, he saw it and was like, yeah, I had a bit of a crush on her. So
And it's a good film. Leon's a good film.
yeah,
But it's not. Let's not have a crush on Natalie Portman style kind of
yeah, and
film. You know.
imagine taking that part and doing it so. It's such a. I mean, I know he's there to be like the ineffective politician, and he does that pretty well. But it's sort of
There's
a.
no. There's no guarantee they're even in the same room together
I
once it's been made.
I know, right?
They don't talk. Oh no, sorry, they do. They do interact once,
Yeah,
right directly.
yeah,
That's when they're on the landing platform.
that's true. Yeah.
And that's it. That's the
Yeah.
only scene that I can think of where they directly guaranteed actually interacting.
Yeah.
With each
Yeah.
other. And it might not have been her. It might have been the decoy.
Imagine taking that fairly bland part to have one scene with the actress who was playing the decoy of the 12-year-old you have a crush
Oh yeah. Well, she was 18 in this film.
on. Oh, right, that helps.
Well, no, it's acceptable to have a crush on her in this film. It's
Uh,
not acceptable to have a crush on her from Leon.
I'm sure he said he saw her in Leon and was like, I thought she was so cute or something like that. I don't know. Um,
Oh, well, no, there's a difference between cute and crush.
hang on.
There is a difference there, and if we're outing him as being potentially into women a bit younger than they should be, we need to be careful about this.
Uh,
While you're looking that up, here's a little fact about Corazon for you.
yeah,
All the weather is artificially created.
lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, actor who had a bit part in The Phantom Menace says he joined the film because he had a crush on Natalie Portman. At the time of filming, he was 16, she was 15. Um, yeah, yeah. So it's not. I mean, it's still underage, isn't it? Anyway, um, yeah, those Senate scenes are a bit. I don't like them. They're a bit.
I mean, they're a bit stilted.
Yes,
Like,
still. It's just the way the line that I always associate with this film is, what is it? Will you allow a committee to, or what is it?
to ascertain the
The
validity
validity
of
of your
your statements,
accusations.
something like that. Yeah. Well,
Will
no one
you?
remembers that line from this film.
It's the one that always stands out to me because it's just such a fucking. Will you defer your motion to allow a commission to explore the validity of your accusations?
Look, the whole point is this is example. It's a swipe at the UN for being ineffectual, right?
Mm.
As we have seen.
Because the kids fucking
Actually.
love that.
Well, you gotta have some for the grown-ups, haven't you?
It's just so. It's just. That is the line I always associate with this film, even though I can never
Well,
fucking remember it.
well,
Just because it does
well,
sum up the stilted political drama that George is trying to sort of create, and I appreciate what he's trying to do, but it doesn't work.
while you're thinking about lines from this film, can we go through some of the highlights that I've made a note of?
Yeah,
Okay, so one of my favourite lines from the entire series is in this film.
there's always a bigger fish.
There's always a bigger fish because, and I know we talked about this, but for the benefit of the tape, that is my idea of the line that sums up the entire series.
Yeah,
There is always a bigger villain at play.
I guess.
They know about Darth Maul.
Yeah.
It turns out Palpatine's there. They know about Dooku. Oh no, but Palpatine's there. They know about Darth Vader. Oh no, there's Palpatine. You know, okay, fine. A lot of the time, it's Palpatine the bigger fish, right? But there is always that bigger fish. There's always that bigger problem. Always that bigger villain at play. You know.
Fair point, well made. I don't dislike that line quite as much as I did when I watched this film and saw it because I thought it was a bit attempted a one-liner that didn't really play off. But yeah, no, you've made your point. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. I quite like the exchange of "No one can kill a Jedi. I wish that was so."
Yeah, there's something in Liam Neeson's delivery of that line that sort of made me think, oh, is he thinking of like old friends he's lost or something like that? Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
almost
bit
certainly.
to that yeah, fair enough.
Um, there's for other reasons, we get the line "Your thoughts dwell on your mother" from Kiadi Mundi, and that always amuses me
Mm.
because like maybe he's thinking about his mother too. you know.
Mm.
There's you get if I am elected, I promise to remove corruption or end corruption or whatever the line is. We have that from Palpatine.
Uh-huh.
It's like, well, yeah, no, we don't, do we? That doesn't happen. And then the two meme ones, I bet you can name at least one of them.
Misa going home.
No, not that. Come on, we've taken the piss out of this ourselves. You've taken the piss out of
Oh
this.
shit, I can never fucking remember. Is it the old woman who says my bones are aching, Annie?
No.
No.
I'll
Uh.
try spinning. That's a
Oh
good
fuck
trick.
yeah, I forget that. I'll try spinning. That's a good trick. And now this is pod race.
Both of those come up, and look, you can hate on them all you like, but you do remember them.
I do remember them, and I just hate that setup. Well,
I
I
mean,
don't hate it. Well, I suppose I do a bit. I don't know.
there's a lot of issues with the battle. It's
Yes,
fun to me because there's a lot going on. At the
I
same time, I like it for that, but there are issues with the battle in terms of a premise.
I would probably we'll come to that because I've got some rewriting things for that too.
Sorry, pause around.
Um,
We but yeah, I often there's certain lines from Star Wars that I will quote during the
active intercourse, yes.
well, yeah, this is where the fun
Well,
begins.
you came in that thing. You're braver than I thought.
Hey, leave him alone. Um, oh, unless you're thinking about the other one, in which case, well, so you. Um, anyway, oh god, what are we doing? Just like Beggar's Canyon back home is a line I say an awful lot if I'm doing driving down like rat runs
Right.
because there's so much weaving and so much dodging and so much pissing about with people that it often comes to mind. I will say it in Lidl to myself if I'm having to weave between people down the cheapo weirdy aisle in the middle.
Mm,
I will say that fucking line to myself because
yeah.
some lines just stick with you, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of Star Wars ones that do.
Yes. Yes.
And one I'm surprised we haven't had a piss take of this one.
Mm.
But why did Kiadi not say, "What about the droid attack on Naboo"?
Well, because that wasn't a meme yet.
Well, no, but we should have had after the fact. We should have had him saying it. Because they take the piss out of him. They've thrown it into all sorts of different scenes and all sorts of different things. I'm surprised it hasn't been memed into that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Your turn.
Right, where are we at with this? What happens next? I got bored in the
We're
middle and took a
going back to Naboo.
fag break halfway through. Yes.
Oh, okay. You know what? When you told me that you were nearly finished, I had two ideas have come to mind of what happened. If you'd started early or you'd skipped a bit.
No, I started early. I found myself sitting on the sofa going through my phone and just thought, fuck it, let's just get over with.
Well, look, I'm telling you, the next few are going to be bad, and then you're going to have a really good one, and then it'll be bad again.
Yes, back on Naboo,
Yeah.
they get through there's now only one ship.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a bit contrived, just so it means there's fewer things for them to fight. I don't know why the
Well,
rest.
the blockade obviously didn't work, right?
Well, I guess I don't know. It just seems prudent to have them there. I don't.
And if
I
there
don't
is
know.
going to be a commission sent to investigate the validity of her statement, the
Mm.
last thing you want is a massive fucking fleet surrounding the planet, right? It's not good optics.
So yeah, they meet up with the Naboobians after, or the Gungans even after Jar Jar confirms that the city is empty, and they take him to their special place. Yeah,
I've got issues with that, by the way.
yeah.
Because the whole point of them not being found was that they were underwater, right?
Mm.
The droids have searched, they've in control of the entire fucking planet, apart from this one secret sacred place in the middle of a swamp.
Well, it must.
It's a bit weird.
Well, I don't know. I guess it's just hard to get to, and I don't know. I'm willing to ignore it.
Yeah, I can ignore it. I just think it's silly that they went from actually quite difficult to get to location to visually it looks like you could just stroll there.
Yeah, and then
but they've been guarding it very well.
Yes, and Padme gets the Gungans on side, and at this point, I'd like to mention. I think maybe my last change I'd make. That's big change. I don't think it's a good idea to have that battle as a separate sort of scene playing out against the other three. I think the better idea is they team up with the Gungans and the Gungans assault the city and get rid of the droids, and it sort of plays out like the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi. That's like your first step, and then you've got the inside the palace and the fight with Darth Maul, and I guess Jake Lloyd. That's what I would do.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I think the whole point of having a battle is so that there's not a big battle in the city, less collateral damage in the city, right?
I get that, but
make it a surprise.
Well, yeah, I mean,
if you've got an army marching towards the city, they're going to bolster their defenses, and it's going to be an even more difficult job. And
I get that. I think it still works if you do have that sort of Ewok type thing where the Gungans are just coming through, and the population rises up, and you have fighting in the street, and the Queen and whatever gets in the palace and captures the Viceroy, and maybe he has a device on him, or maybe the tables are turned. They wanted the Queen to give the order of surrender, so every Naboobian would stand down. Maybe they do the same with him. They've got a
Mm.
blaster in his face, and he calls the droids off because he's a coward. And then you don't have to deal with the space thing with Celia Imrie.
Yeah, I mean the space thing is a bit problematic in places, isn't it?
Well, you turn four scenes into two, essentially, or four main stories, you know, into two.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but we get our Darth Maul fight.
Yeah, I mean I love that lightsaber fight.
Is this your favourite bit of music in Star Wars?
Yes, Duel of the Fates is my favorite piece of.
I like it a lot too.
I think it is well composed. I think it is
Hmm.
well performed. I think it perfectly suits the scene it is going for.
Uh-huh.
And so yes, it is my favorite. I mean, there are other bits of music in Star Wars that I like a lot,
Mm.
but this is absolutely 100%. If I want to listen to some Star Wars music, this is the one I think of.
Uh. I think this is a fair fight or a good fight. Maybe
Mm.
it's too choreographed. I don't know. That's sort of a problem with the fights in the prequels. They're not. They're
Well,
miss.
you see, I I quite like the choreography of
Uh,
specifically the bit right after when when Qui Gon's been killed or he's dying, I should say, because he's not actually dead yet.
yeah,
And that last shield goes down, and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul start fighting one on one.
yeah.
That little scene, like the very start of that, like the first 6 seconds of that fight, is some of my favorite lightsaber choreography in the entire franchise.
Do you know what I think is really good in that scene? That has. This is not an original thought. Somebody pointed this out to me on a video. Um,
What's that?
when the door sections go down and they're all Darth Maul, Qui Gon, and Obi Wan are trapped in their own respective bits.
Yeah.
There's a nice little character moment for each of them.
Oh, hang on. This is Darth Maul's pacing because
Darth Maul is pacing like a tiger, like a predatory animal. Qui
Qui Gon is meditating because
yes,
he's
Qui Gon
living in the moment and
Qui
all
Gon
that.
takes
And
the moment to meditate, and Obi Wan is raring to go.
yes, and you see Obi-Wan reacting just before things happen
Mm.
as well, which is something I made a note of. Like it's not a lot before it happens, but like his lightsaber comes on just before the field goes down.
Yeah.
Right? He's sensing it happening, and as we get that from one of the things we hear about Jedi is that they can sense things before they happen. That's why Anakin's
Mm.
reflexes are quote so good
Mm.
because he's not actually reflexing; he's pre-acting, isn't he?
Mm.
you know. And we see that from Obi-Wan, and it's another example of perhaps he's not quite living in the moment still.
Can we take a moment to discuss something I forgot that popped up a while ago?
Okay.
What do you think about midi-chlorians?
Oh yes, I meant to mention this.
I think.
Um, the thing about how to put this, if you explain something, even a little bit, and I didn't really explain it a lot, but the more you explain something, the less magic it is.
Yes.
And part of the thing about the Force, from what we see in the original trilogy, is that it's this mysterious thing.
Mm.
We don't really know an awful lot about it.
Mm.
It's a thing that we can harness. It's a thing we can use to our advantage at times.
Yes.
But we don't know a massive amount about it.
It's a
Really.
thing anyone can sort of tap into. Any person can tap into it. If you're a Jedi, you're more learned and more in tune with it.
Whereas here, there's a fucking scale system for it.
It's yes,
As to,
yes. I don't like the application of empirical measurement
no.
to something like that. That he
It,
has his midichlorian levels are over 9,000. It's like mercifully
they're off the chart. Surely you just rescale the chart.
it's never brought up again.
No, it is that one time. Maybe you took some notes from people on that one.
Possibly, yeah. But I spoke very fondly about the presentation of the Force as a sort of a spiritual Buddhist Taoist
Hmm.
philosophical type thing. But now it's like a biological.
I
It's not a good idea. It's stupid. I don't like it.
Something I meant to say about pod racing as well is that I wonder if the fact that it is somewhat similar to Formula One is perhaps part of why I am okay with it and like it.
I did think that when I was watching it. I did. I did think this is like Formula One. Is there some
But a bit
comparison
violent.
to be drawn here? It's like
Yeah.
if
Well, Formula One was quite big in the late 90s because that was when Schumacher was starting to win everything.
yeah, that's probably why
So
that and the toys.
yeah, so it's there's probably some sort of connection
Mm,
there
definitely,
that other people have probably looked into and commented on.
definitely.
Um, yeah. What else was there going to be? Oh, when we've got the droid transporters and they're extending out the bits with the droids on and loading
Yeah.
the droids out. I like the fact that there's a beeping noise whilst they're extending out the arm that's got all the droids on.
Mm.
I like that. That's a health and safety thing.
It's sort of like
I
how
quite like that.
it's sort of like how Watto's shop has that like door jingle.
Yeah, it's such a sensible thing to have, really, in the grand scheme of things, isn't it? It's just a little bit of sound in the, you
Yeah.
know.
Um, it's one of those things that I wouldn't be surprised if he had gone back and added after the fact. If this was like an original trilogy, he probably would have put the door noise in.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
probably.
there are robots I don't remember. Those little robots on the Trade Federation ship and in the aftermath of the battle when they're like stacking up bits to destroy battle droids, those little things. Did you see them? The little sort of silvery metallic droid things.
No, I don't think I did.
I did. That was I'm surprised I've never sort of thought about them or come across them. And they don't appear in the other films to the best of my knowledge. But yeah, I was kind of surprised to see those.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So
Oh, hang on. Before we move on, can we just talk about Maul again in the lightsaber fight?
yeah, sure thing.
It is evident to me that his plan was always to try and split the two of them up
Yeah, I mean that.
and
Yeah,
take them one on
that's
one.
he's
Basically, everything he
mm,
does is an attempt to split them up in some
yeah,
way,
yeah,
which
that,
is sensible. Divide and conquer, right? And it
yeah.
does work,
Uh-huh.
you know. So
Till
I
it
think
doesn't.
it's good to well, yeah, but I mean he's not dead still.
Mm, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Mm.
Um, I've seen him die. It wasn't then.
Um,
I actually made a point. Oh my gosh, there's no way Darth Maul could survive that fall.
um,
Yes,
the Jedi Council stuff with Anakin. I mean, as I would, I mean, I said I'd get rid of Qui-Gon. I mean, that would play out differently with just Obi-Wan being told he can train Anakin. Why is Anakin going with them to Naboo?
um, yes, that's a good question. There's no reason why he should be, but I suppose the fact that the Jedi Council aren't taking him
Well, the
suggests that he's got to go somewhere, right? And he's sort of Qui Gon's responsibility.
the council have said that Qui-Gon can't train this boy, and then they give him the boy,
Well, they say you can't trade him. Maybe they don't say that you can't,
but
keep him.
but he wants to trade him. You know,
Yeah,
and now I guess they're just trusting him not to train him. It's silly. I don't think Anakin should have been in that bit
no,
at that age.
that's
If he
reasonable.
if he was like 14, 15, there's an argument that we need every gun we can get. Maybe you have a scene where
Well,
he uses a blaster to get rid of Sepulvra or something like that. I don't know.
there's a thing where the whole idea is they're taking him with him because really they can't leave him on Coruscant, right?
They
That's the gist I get from that.
they
And
could.
let's be fair, but what they say to him is get somewhere, hide, and stay there, right? They don't say get involved. They basically they tell him to hide and
Yeah.
they'll come and get him. They don't want him to be a part of it. So, but because they can't leave him on the ship because the droids find the ship, right?
Yeah. You haven't convinced me. I still think he could have been left on Coruscant. And it's like
Well,
we
with who?
with the Jedi, they could have just said, right, well, you'll stay here with us until all this is over, and then we'll figure shit out.
You really want a kid leaving with the Jedi? It's bad enough what they do to the kids that they do
I
train with.
just think from a writing perspective, the only reason why Anakin goes to Naboo is so he can blow up the ship.
Yeah,
There's no justification for him being there at all. None.
no, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, probably. I mean, there's issues with him with the whole space battle, anyway, isn't there? But do you want my big issue with the space battle?
Yeah, go on.
He's not on the communications.
Yeah, you'd think that would be an auto thing.
He's like, clearly, they were all surprised that that something's blowing up in the ship and that one of theirs is flying out of it, right?
Mm.
And yet, surely he's on the communications. We can hear them talking to each other, so why the hell can't they hear him or why can't he hear them?
I don't know. Maybe he turned it off.
Well, he's a fucking idiot then.
He's a kid. He doesn't know what he's doing.
You know.
Well, he does because he blows up the ship. But
Does he do it deliberately? Because I don't think he does.
No, he
He tries to
doesn't.
shoot some droids, and he fires the wrong thing, and it goes straight past everyone and blows up the reactor.
Yeah, maybe
What
this.
is it about this franchise and one spaceship being able to ruin everything?
Maybe this should have just been a. We've captured the viceroy. The viceroy orders the army to stand down after it's been like ripped apart by
Because
Gungans.
that tactic doesn't work any other time in the series, right? The blow up the control ship because they specifically change the way droids
Yeah,
work
because of this. Yeah,
because of this happening. So
yeah.
like it is a one time, only happens once,
Mm.
is only going to happen once situation.
Yeah, it's just a
You
way.
know,
It's just a way to get little Annie doing something and mimic Luke blowing up the Death Star. That's what it is.
well, we need to demonstrate him as a good pilot, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've already done that with the pod race, right? You've already done that with the pod race.
Well, I mean, is pod racing the same as flying?
It is for this,
Although they
but
do go through Beggars Canyon, by the way.
for the oh right for the purposes
Yeah.
of this, it is. We have seen him. We have okay. He's really good at pod racing. That's sort of flying. It would. If I was an audience member, it'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, he is good at flying.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think one of my issues, Qui Gon and Obi Wan don't really have a lot going on between, or as much as they should. And Obi Wan and Anakin don't either. And I think removing Qui Gon solves that problem. And I know you're fond. I know you fucking love Qui Gon Jinn, but I just think he's taking up space, man.
Look,
Spaceman.
he, like I say, he is by a lot of people, myself included, he is considered the linchpin as to why Anakin falls.
Well, I don't think, from what you've said, it's not so much that he's the linchpin as why Anakin falls. It's just that if he had been around, he sort of his presence is just the deciding factor.
Yeah. So if it wasn't for him,
That Anakin, if Anakin had had that influence in his life, which I
he
get,
he
yeah,
wouldn't have, he wouldn't have ended up. He would have been the older, wiser, mentor figure that
yes,
Palpatine became,
yes,
right?
because Obi Wan is still sort of young and getting used to being a Jedi and probably fucking it up and not really knowing exactly how to play this. But then,
Yeah,
if you accentuate that going forward, there's a certain tragedy in that too. Like Obi Wan is sort of finds himself in this situation beyond his time and does his best, but is not up to the task.
yeah.
So,
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's. I know we'll get to it in 2 films time, but it's you were like a brother to me. Had that been Qui Gon, it would have been you were like a son to me,
yes,
you know. And it's because there is that brotherly style relationship. It didn't need a
I
brother.
mean, not. I mean, we'll get to the relationship because I don't think it's played out that well. But I mean, if you could have, without Qui Gon, you can put more points into that early relationship between Obi Wan and Anakin. So by the time we get to that line in Revenge of the Sith, it's like, yeah, that something really important has been lost here, and it is tragic that neither one of them could have stopped this. You know. But anyway, we'll get to that. Well, I respect your opinions, and I hope you respect mine.
Most of them.
Okay. Um, yeah,
I disagree with her on a lot of it, but I respect it.
Samuel L. Jackson.
He's so unnecessary in this film.
Yeah, it's not good use of Samuel L. Jackson because Jedi are meant to be sort of stoic and you know.
And he's had it with his motherfucking Sith in this
Yeah,
motherfucking
that's
Senate.
that's Samuel L. Jackson at his best, man. You need him like on the verge of turning to the Sith, like some sort of midpoint where he's a good Jedi gone rogue. He should have been like the Dooku figure, you know.
Well, I mean, canonically, he is that sort of. He taps into the dark side of it.
Yeah, but that's not in the
No,
text.
I know it's not in the text, but like, if you outside of the movies,
Yeah,
canon has that he
yeah,
taps into the dark side. So
yeah.
it's
it's a
why it's purple.
yeah.
In universe, it's why his lightsaber's purple.
When in reality, you just asked for it, and George Lucas was like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
Well, I don't give a shit. It's
Why do I care?
it's just
It's not me making it purple.
it's one more toy to be collected. Yeah, we'll make a fucking purple lightsaber. Why not?
Well, we'll give you two.
Yeah, fuck it.
Um, can we talk about the? I alluded to it earlier. Where Yoda is demonstrated to not be a very good Jedi.
What exactly does he say? Remind me.
Well, earlier on in the film, he says that he senses fear in Anakin, and fear leads to anger, anger leads
Leads
to
to
hate,
hate.
and hate
Hate.
leads to
Leads.
the dark side.
Yes, another classic quote.
Yep. And towards the end, Yoda fears grave danger in training Anakin. He
Mm,
specifically says, grave danger I fear in training him."
mm.
That's fear.
Yeah, I know.
Fear. Fear, Yoda.
Well, okay. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to dark side. That's just like something George rattled off because it sounded philosophical and good. And it does, but as soon as you start looking into it, does fear always lead to anger? Yeah,
No,
yeah,
well, no,
not
not
really.
always, but
Anger leads to hate. Yeah, it makes sense as long as you don't look at it too closely as a
uh,
philosophy, especially because, as
there's a
you
lot of,
said, Yoda feels fear.
there's a lot of errors or
Hey,
contradictions in what the
hang on,
Jedi say and do.
hang on. In Empire Strikes Back, Yoda assures Luke that he will be afraid.
Yeah,
He wasn't busting
he
out
does.
the "don't be afraid" because then you'll be a fucking monster. You know. He goes, "You will be," ignoring his previous teachings. What a fucking
Well,
hack!
no, he does. He does mention it in that film as well. I think. I think. I think he does mention the fear leads to anger thing.
No, maybe.
But yeah, yeah, he does. He does say that he's going to be scared, and
Mm.
so again, it's not very good at being a Jedi.
Well, yeah,
But none of
I
them are. Let's be fair. That's again, like I say, Qui-Gon is only really the only real, actually proper Jedi as they're meant to be character in the film.
Mm, I maybe we've talked about this before in other videos. I like the idea of the Jedi Council in like having fallen really far and being viewed as sort of a Catholic Church type thing, sort of
Mm.
weird and corrupt, and they're doing sort of morally dubious things like taking people's kids away from their families to train them and things like that, and maybe they're too high and mighty and too involved in politics. I like all that.
Mm.
Um, I don't think it's. I don't think it comes across
It's too
in this
subtle.
film. You know what?
We sort of get it a little bit, but later on, but it's too subtle in this one.
I like an awful lot about the films George wanted to make,
Hmm.
based on what I've learned. I think I probably would enjoy the Clone Wars, right? The TV series. Um, but I don't think he has the skill as a writer or a director to adequately convey that vision.
We get this thing about how the Sith have their rule of two.
Yes.
They don't call it that, but there's only ever two, a master and an apprentice,
Mm.
right? And they muse over which one they killed.
Mm.
Again, didn't. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But they muse over which one they supposedly killed.
Mm.
And it struck me, and I'm sure we've talked about it before, but the Jedi sort of have their own rule of two. In that Qui-Gon couldn't take on another apprentice.
Yeah.
Within the dynamic, there is only like a teacher and an apprentice.
Yes.
Right? There's a knight and a Padawan,
Yes.
or a master and a Padawan.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I think is a nice comparison. Maybe that's where it all went wrong for the Jedi, is when they started having more.
Mm.
Although, spoiler alert, there's more than just two Sith, basically all the time. Anyway.
Yeah, I know Dooku has a woman.
Asajj Ventress.
Ventress, yeah.
Yes. I mean, even towards in the sequel trilogy, it turns out there's so many fucking Sith.
Yeah, they've got like Inquisitors and stuff, don't they?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And there's that guy, is it Star Killer or whatever the fuck the guy's name is in one of the games,
yeah,
The
in
Force
the Force
Unleashed?
games, yeah, that's Vader's apprentice.
Because we fucking love Jedi and Sith, and we want to stick him in everything, and you can't sell a Star Wars product unless it has a Jedi in it.
Well, I mean, later in the series, it's revised to it not being only two Sith; it's being ruled by two Sith. I think so. To like being led by a master and an apprentice, because there's all sorts of Sith acolyte things going on or something. I've only seen the film once, so I'm a bit rusty on what it all is, but you know.
Well,
But again, like I say, the rule of two is a sort of it's a both side of things have that sort of thing going on. So
yeah, I see that. Yeah, we get Liam Neeson's funeral.
that room would have stank.
Yeah, not very
I
well
mean,
ventilated. Everybody's in there.
burning hair is a terrible smell at the best of times, and he was a hairy boy.
Mm.
You know.
And then you go from that to the celebration.
which is a bit out of place.
Well, yeah, this point is made in the behind the scenes footage when they watch the director's cut. Rick
Hmm.
McCulloch, I think his name is, who's one of the producers, is like, well, you've gone from, and he says this to George, you've gone from lamenting the death of a hero to celebrating that you've won the day. It's like there's a mood shift in
Yeah,
there.
the
Uh,
music's good though.
yeah, I like the music.
I was dancing to that
Yeah.
music whilst it was happening, and then waiting for the exact moment to pause it so I
Yeah.
could tell you how long the film was because we talked about it in the day before. Um,
Yep, and then Boss Nass holds up this thing we've never heard any discussion of since.
Peace.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, it's purely symbolic, I guess. I don't.
Yeah,
Whatever,
I guess. You know,
whatever.
it's what it is.
Yeah, and that's Star Wars Episode One.
Now they can start breeding
The,
interracially,
the,
just like in that movie I saw.
oh no. The
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Star Wars Episode One: The Phantom Menace. What are your overall thoughts?
Look, I like it as a film. I don't. I accept that there are issues with it. I accept that some of those issues are concepts. Some of them are visual. Some of them are decisions, and some of them are just plain racism.
Yeah,
I accept that it is in places a bit long,
yeah,
and I'm willing to accept that part of why I like it might be influenced by the nostalgia effect.
yeah, definitely.
But well, don't say that.
Well, I mean
Don't just chalk it up to me. I'm willing to accept that part of it might be because of the nostalgia.
yes, definitely. Part
I
of it
like.
is because of the nostalgia. You grew up with this. It's hard for you to. I get that. I don't hold that against you. You admit it.
Well, yeah, a lot of people just say, "Oh no, it's a good film. You can't don't shit on my film."
Yeah,
I like the film.
yeah,
It's simple as that. I would say that it's probably because you're going to ask me which
yeah.
ranking
Well,
I'd give
yeah,
it. Thus far in the series,
yeah.
I think it is my third favorite.
Okay. So where do you step? Okay, what are your rankings so far? What's first?
Well, Empire, Return, Phantom, A New Hope.
Jesus. Okay. Okay.
A New Hope's fine,
Yeah. All right.
but it's just when you compare it to the other films, there's not a lot going for it in comparison, in my opinion.
Okay. I think this film is very, very flawed. Very, very flawed. There's a lot of things wrong with it, but
It's
it's.
your fourth. It's your fourth ranking film. That's
Hang
fine.
on, hang on. I'm not fit. Let me fucking finish. I think it's very, very flawed, but pretty fixable as well. You just need to sort of go back to the drawing board with a lot of it. I've gone over all the changes I've made. I think that they're the right call. It is. I think it is my. Yeah, it is. Of course, it's my fourth.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
You
still.
didn't even need to say it.
I'm
It's
still
been
not.
done. Yeah.
I'm still not entirely sure. It goes Empire, and then I don't know whether I prefer A New Hope or. I think A New Hope is over. I think it. Yeah, I think it's Empire, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, than this.
Just you wait.
So I look forward to Attack of the Clones blowing my tits off and being my favorite Star Wars film of all time. You know, Mark Hamill said that Empire Strikes Back was the worst of the three.
I mean, maybe he's jaded by the fact that he had spent so much time in Finland.
Maybe, maybe. Well,
Do you actually like Attack of the Clones? Is that
um,
because I think it's so fucking boring. Without having watched it again, I think it's so dull.
I can't remember. I
There's like one good thing in it that I can think of right now, and they're both Natalie Portman.
um, Rich Evans from Red Letter Media has made the point that based on budget, Attack of the Clones is the worst film ever made.
Oh, okay.
Uh, I don't. I honestly can't remember. I feel like I'm not going to like it at all. I think Hayden. We'll get to it. We'll get
Okay,
to it next week.
we will.
So thanks very
So
much for joining us.
no one's gonna stick around for this bit. I've seen the stats. We got a thumbs down on the last one.
Why?
I don't know why. It wasn't a bloody. No one. They didn't leave a comment.
All right.
But based on the fact that it says 0 rather than, we're not. It's not a liked video.
Who
At least some of
cares?
the others have had likes.
Bye.
Bye.